uh, two panelists. These are very experienced science teachers from the Eaton Academy. Let me introduce them. Okay, can I go to the next screen? Thank you very much. Yes, okay. So let me introduce who we have on the panel this evening. We have Miss Wei Fen. Again, as I said, she's a very experienced science teacher who taught in MOE schools for a number of years. So yeah, she has a wealth of experience teaching science, and she knows, how PSLE is marked and things like that. Okay, having been part of the exercise before. Yeah. And we also have Miss Nisa, also a very experienced teacher who taught in MOE schools. So, the combined experience between these two teachers is really quite a number of years, I would say. Yeah. Okay. My name is Mr. Hugh, and I'll be the host for this evening's discussion. Okay, great.
Thank
So,
you, Mr. Hugh.
mm,
Yeah,
yes, Miss Wayfern.
yeah. Thank you, Mr. Hugh. Good evening, parents. I'm Miss Wei Fen. Parents, before I start, we would like to know how frequently does your child receive feedback from their science teacher? Let's do a poll on this. And if
Okay.
your child's teacher has given him or her feedback on his or her progress in science, can you briefly share some of the feedbacks that they have received?
Yeah. Okay. So I've just launched a poll. You can see there basically two questions here. Okay, basically two questions here. And yeah, frequency of child feedback. Okay. Yeah, and what kind of feedback? Right. Okay, I see. I see. Oh, okay.
Almost never.
Almost never. This seems to be quite popular so far. Okay. All right. Hmm. Okay, so the kind of feedback, things like, very careless. Okay, yes, I'm sure some of you have heard that before. Yes. All right. Open-ended questions, yeah. Yeah. I think that's also a weakness that students tend to have. Yeah. Okay, let me close this poll. Thank you for participation. All right, I've closed the poll. Okay, yes, Ms. Wei Fen.
Okay, thank you for your poll responses. As an educator teaching science for more than 10 years, I have listed down some of the common concerns faced by my students' parents. Okay, some of the concerns are my child struggles to understand science concept. Okay, my child struggles with open-ended questions. What can I do to help my child retain key concepts effectively? Why does my child not know which concepts to apply in the questions? And my child scores well in P4 science. Why is there a drastic drop in his or her P5 science results? Miss Nisa, are these concerns shared by me similar to the concerns faced by the parents of the students you have taught?
Yeah, they're quite similar. So most of the parents would be like, I don't know why my child cannot uh do well, even though they memorize certain things, like the concept and all these things. And why are they still not getting the full marks, or like they missed out marks? Yeah.
Mm. So that's, I mean, I suppose I see a lot of why questions there. All right. So I don't know, Miss Mayfen, would you like to shed some light on this?
All right, Mr. Hugh. Actually, in the next slide, right, I'm going to share some reasons why students
Mm.
face such struggles.
Okay.
Okay, I think science can be a challenging subject for some students, especially when they find it challenging to retain information and understand key concepts. And then a poor understanding of concepts often leaves students unable to connect the science concepts that they have learned to real-world scenario. Not scoring for multiple choice questions. I think MCQ require sharp analytical skills and careful attention to detail. Students who struggle to recall informations or have problem analyzing data from graphs, flowcharts, or tables may find themselves choosing the incorrect answers. And another challenge I feel is the inability to use precise and relevant keywords. Missing these crucial unusual terms in open-ended questions can result in vague or incomplete answers. And without structured reasoning and clear explanation, students' answers fail to meet the expectations of the marking scheme.
Hmm.
Okay, does being good at science concepts guarantee scoring high marks in exams? Parents, what are your thoughts on these questions? Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Or maybe you are not very sure? Let's carry out a poll on this.
Okay, let me launch the next poll. Okay, give me one. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So do you think being good at science concepts guarantee high marks? Okay. Oh, all right. I see that more of you feel no, that's not the case. Let me just leave the poll on for a couple more seconds. Okay, so it seems, Ms. Wei Fen, it seems that most of our attendees today feel that no, this is not the case.
Yes. Actually having a strong understanding of science concept is essential, but it doesn't guarantee high marks in exams. I think scoring well, especially in open-ended questions, requires students to apply their knowledge effectively and communicate with precision. Over the next few slides, Ms. Nisa and I have compiled some samples from our students' school exam papers for us to analyze together why the students' answers were not accepted by their school teachers. Okay, by the way, after our students have gotten back their school exam paper, Ms. Nisa and I would actually request the students to bring them back to us, okay, so that we can analyze their papers and to see where their gaps are. Okay, in these P5 questions, the students was required to explain how the plastic balls help to shorten the drying time of the wet clothes in a dryer. Okay, this is what the students has written. Okay, she has written, the plastic ball roll in between the wet clothes, causing it to have, a layer of air between the wet clothes, and hot air travels to the clothes, and then the air in between the clothes is a poor conductor of heat, trapping the hot air from the dryer in the clothes, hence, okay, resulting in a shorter drying time. Okay, so the students mention concepts like heat trapping, which are not relevant in this context, as it does not explain how the water on the clothes disappear. For these questions, the students must link, okay, to the concept of evaporation and the factors affecting the rate of evaporation. Okay, the expected answer explains that the plastic balls increase the exposed surface area of the clothes to the hot air, leading to an increase in the rate of evaporations of water from the clothes. Hence, it's important for students to identify the correct topic before they start answering the question so as to apply the appropriate concepts to the context of the question. Okay, this is a P3 questions of magnets. Okay, in part A, okay, I didn't include the questions for part A. Okay, so in part A, right, the students was actually able to correctly identify object C as a magnet. But in her explanation in part B, okay, she mentioned about object C attracting and repelling the magnets. Okay, do you think her answer is correct? Actually, no, okay, because she was just throwing in the properties of magnets, and her explanation lacked, okay, reasoning that is related to the scenario in the question. The expected answer should clearly state that object C is repelled by the magnet, and only magnets can repel each other, okay, when their like poles face each other. Okay, the attractions of object C to the magnet is not correct, as magnetic materials can also be attracted to magnets.
Okay, so Ms. Wei Fen, what you're trying to say here is that just memorizing the keywords is not good enough. Am I right
Yes,
with
correct.
that?
Yeah, and memorizing, all the properties of the magnets is not good enough. They must, look at the context and apply the correct property of the magnets to the question.
Okay, I see that. Okay.
Okay, for this question, right, the students correctly identify the stage of the butterfly. However, he was not awarded mark for his explanation. Okay, his explanation, it eats a lot of food, is not specific enough. Okay, he needs to link back to the context of the question, which is the larva feeding on the plants in the farmer's farm. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Okay, in this P4 question, right, the student's answer is incomplete as she does not use evidence from the data provided in the questions, which is the table. Okay, she should actually state that the time taken for the wax to melt is shorter for B, as can be seen from the table, okay, in the question. And matter is a better conductor of heat, allowing it to gain heat faster. So this sample highlights the importance of referring to data from the questions, okay, and to provide a complete explanations that connects the observation to the scientific concepts being tested. Okay, for another question, right, the same student, okay, it's the same student, okay, correctly identified fabric R as the weakest, but she did not provide any comparison. Okay, she should state that R can hold the least number of weights before it broke, making a clear comparison with the other fabrics, instead of just stating the fact that R holds 2 kg of weights before it broke. Okay, for the last two questions that I've just discussed, right, the school exam papers are from the same student. So after attending the lesson at the Eden Academy, she demonstrated significant improvement in answering open-ended questions. Using the structured answering techniques that we have taught here, choice, clue, concept, and conclusion, okay, which we call it the 4Cs techniques here, okay, she can now provide well-organized answers, okay, that include all the necessary components. Okay, in this question, the question that you have that you see in your screen, okay, is actually from her latest exam paper, school exam paper. So she correctly identified material B as the better choice, highlighting the key clue from the graph, like B will take a longer time to melt, and apply the concept of heat conductivity, which is B is a poorer conductor of heat. And finally, concluded by linking what Adam hoped to achieve. She also used comparison words, okay, like longer and poorer, to show comparison with material A. Okay, this reflects, okay, how a systematic approach, targeted guidance from teacher and focused practice can help students improve their understanding, clarity, and confidence in tackling such questions. Okay, I've gone through some common errors that I've observed in my students and how to address them. Ms. Nisa, would you share with us, a few other examples or any insights from your experience with your students? Like what are some challenges that you have noticed and how do you guide them to overcome this?
So basically, majority of the questions they are missing keywords. This is like the major things and they lose very significant marks about it. So some schools no longer give half a mark. So it's like a total 0 marks. And then we have students who use the wrong concept but with the correct keywords. So when you explain and with all the keywords, so it's also useless. So basically, you will lose marks there. So for the next question, we have this thing where it is an incomplete answer. If you realize, they give you a cooler box, they give you an ice cream. So they ask you which is the most suitable material to make the cooler box. So in this case, material D is the poorest conductor of heat. So as heat flows slowest, yeah, but heat flows, a lot of students will make this mistake. You slow slowest, so you need to actually tell me that it is the poorest conductor, so that ice cream will gain heat from the surrounding slower, thus storing the ice cream for a longer period of time. For heat, especially, students have this problem all the way. Okay, heat is being introduced in P4. But I see the same problem appearing in P5 and also in P6, and especially if it's in P6, so we have a harder time to actually get the student to actually do a proper way, because for heat you need to tell whether it's gaining from somewhere to and then lost it to another whether surroundings or whatever. All right, so in this case you also must conclude whether that this is why. In this case, they did not even conclude lah. Like you need to make sure that the ice cream is being able to store for a longer period of time. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Same thing. So they ask you which in which container of water will color solution exchange to red color. So they gave everything. Okay, I'm not going to go to the specific of it, but the photosynthesis here in this case, you're supposed to say leading to a lower rate of photosynthesis. In this, student did not give it, and again there's no half mark, so the whole thing you just leave with 1 mark, even though there's 3 points here, but he missed only 1. but he will not be awarded 1.5. He will be only awarded 1 mark. So these are the things that we feel students need to be very careful about, right? So, is there a difference in the type of questions from P3 to P6 for the same topic? Parents, if you don't know, I will be giving an overview of the topics here. Okay, so this is the latest syllabus. So for P3, diversity, majority of diversity, and then we have cycles. And then if in P4, you will realize cycles are appearing also, but more of system here. To realize plant system, human system, and then energy forms. First two, like I say, light and heat. And heat is one of the major ones actually in P4. If you are weaker here, you will actually realize you will have a problem in P5 and P6. Usually. Okay, this is what we see. And then for P6, it's more of energy, if you realize. Okay, and then for P5, we are looking at about cycles. Water cycle is also one of the major one. Why? Because we're actually using heat forms like heat, and then multiple topics will blend in together. Okay, but in this case, I would like to point out to cycles in plants and animals because most of our students that we see across level, whether you're in Eton or anywhere, because we do have students from outside before this also, we realize that cycles and plants is being introduced in P3, but students still struggle in P4, P5, P6. So in this case, I'll give you an overview on how the complexity of the science question goes through from P3 to P6. All right.
So, Miss Nisa, what you're trying to say is that although the concept was learned at P3,
Mm.
at a P6 level, this same concept, the same topic might be tested, but in a different way.
Yes. So you will see the complexity of the question increase.
I see. Okay.
I think I will just give you the example. So
Mm,
in P3, this is P3, yeah. So diagram below shows the life cycle. We've got the life cycle of chicken on the left, and then the life cycle of the mosquito on the right. So it's very straightforward, direct comparison, very easy. One is 3, one is 4. So, and then the state. What's the meaning of state? To give a concise answer with little or no supporting argument. Why I'm bringing this up is because sometimes parents or they will just ask, okay, you just explain. This one no need to explain. You see the word state, you just give a direct one. Similarity and differences. Still, both of them has an egg stage in the life cycle. And then for the difference, chicken only has 3-stage life cycle, but the mosquito has 4-stage life cycle. Okay. So in the bottom part, you have same number of life cycle of chicken and mosquito, then they need to recognize which animal is in the 3-stage life cycle versus 4-stage life cycle. It's very fast. It's a recall and compare, usually in P3. Okay, so when we move on to P4, same thing they will give you is the life cycle of butterfly. And then you do have to just recall, identify and recall the stages of the 4-stage life cycle. Now, in P4, you realize that we will start to give graph. Even in math also, they will start to give graph. So now we need to read the graph, to analyze the graph. And if you remember what Miss Wei Fen said just now, the 4 C's, okay? So based on the graph, again, they will always ask the question, based on the graph, on which day did the caterpillar turn into a pupa? So in this case, you have to analyze the graph, right? So choice, which day the caterpillar changed the pupa? Okay, so the child says day 4. Good. Next one, find the clue from the graph that supports the claim. And parents, this is the one that always, the majority of students always forget this. Okay, because they read, oh, okay, I know that it's 4 to 7, sure. But they never write. Starting from day 4 to 7, the mass of the leaves did not move. Okay, and then third one, concept related. So what they did not move? Because the pupa stage did not eat, right? After that, then you have to conclude your answer. So pass on day 4, the caterpillar turns into a pupa. Okay, so next one. This is the 4 C's. So P5. Okay, again, they give you an experiment and then they ask you to conclude from this experiment. Now, then after that, they never tell you anything else. They just say, okay, based on the result, what could Mrs. Tan conclude from this experiment? This is actually a very difficult question for some students. Why? Because they actually need to know the aim of the experiment first before concluding. So in this case, if you see the word aim, you should to find out if the presence of substance X in the water will attract more mosquitoes to lay eggs in the water. So while doing that, then they have to read the table. So analyze the table given. Okay, then you draw conclusions from the table. So these are the steps that students actually have to do. So from P3 direct comparison to P4 analyzing the graph, now you have to figure out what is the aim of the experiment. And this is why at P5 level, majority of the students will dip. Okay, especially students whose language is not really that good, and then they don't even know what the question is asking for. They don't even know where to find the answer. Okay, so and then same thing for this one. Yes, it's a diagram, and then you have to analyze the diagram because now they're asking you what is the maximum number of days Mrs. Tan should conduct the experiment to ensure no pupa develops into an adult mosquito. So some just add log 1 + 4 + 2, then happily just put there because adult mosquito. But they don't need to realize that the mosquito, when it's at an adult stage, is able to fly. So it's going to infect more people. Okay, so for P6, okay, this is the PSLE 2018. They give you two different graphs. Okay, so state the relationship. So in the AI, is required to analyze the graph and then state the relationship. Again, no need to explain. Okay, for this part, however, the question asks you explain why this relationship is observed. Then for part 2, give another reason why the number of dengue cases does not change immediately after the amount of rainfall. So in this case, they need to show an understanding of the graph and apply it to the question. Okay, and then B, when a male mosquito carrying bacteria W mates with female mosquito, the eggs will not hatch. They will not. So sometimes the question, at this point of time, 2018, it was quite new. So the students like, what's going on? So they realized that, okay, information has been given here. Okay, now the number of dengue cases in this housing estate decreased after the release of these male mosquitoes. Explain why. So infer and draw conclusion based on the information given. So sometimes in PSLE, especially nowadays, right, you don't know what they're going to give you here. So you have to know how to apply. Like you need to figure out, okay, what are they trying to ask me? Okay, and then you infer and draw conclusion based on the information given. So these are the complexities. Like this is cycles. So you don't really actually teach them again in P4, P5, P6. You just show them during like exams or when you're doing a term review. That's it. So the teacher won't go through this. Yeah. All right. So relationship questions are also one of the killer questions that students actually find problems. I mean, we find that students have a lot of problems with. Okay, so let's say P3 and P4, the difference. Lisa repeated the experiment by stroking rod K different number of times. She then recorded her observation in the table below. She realized 10, 20, 30. If you realize it's 5, 11, question mark, and then 25. If you realize it's just in an ascending order, going up. So increasing trend, so therefore it's a single relationship. Okay, then let's look at this. Number of times rod K was stroked and number of steel clips attracted. In P3, normally teachers would teach them as the number of times rod K was stroked increase, the number of steel clips attracted increase. That is like the standard answer in P3. But in P4, based on the results above, what's the relationship between the number of times rod K was stroked and its magnetic strength? So this kid, if you realize, the more time it's stroked, the more paper clips it can attract. So it's completely wrong because it did not relate to the particular questions. Okay, so the greater number of times rod K was stroked, the greater its magnetic strength. That's it. So primary 5 and 6. Now, this is the killer one. Okay, 2-mark questions. State the relationship. Then you realize, hey, why state relationship got 2 marks? This is like ridiculous. There's no need to explain at all. Why? Because if you realize from temperature 10 to 4 degrees Celsius, the volume of the content decrease. So we need to talk about this. As the temperature decreases from 10 degrees Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius, the volume of contents in the container decrease. And then from 4 to 0, it actually increase. So as the temperature decreases from 4 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius, the volume of contents in the container increase. So this is what we call a double relationship. And this is why a lot of students fail to do so. Because they'll just say, normally, they only give us the red color one. So they only receive 1 mark. Some schools who are a bit stricter, they will give you a 0 mark because they want both. Yeah. Okay, now science curriculum framework. So I'm just going to go through a very fast one. So we have to inspire how everyday phenomena have scientific connections, innovate to generate creative solutions to solve real problems, and inquire, so possess the spirit of scientific inquiry. So unfortunately in primary schools nowadays, maybe they have not enough time, so they don't really ask a lot of questions. And it is important to ask questions because um the demands of the exam questions, they need it lah. So how can I start my child on this particular journey? Okay, so you can actually ask open-ended questions. Okay, so for condensation, let's say, I'm sure this thing happened before, like in the toilet or glass panels, mirror in the bathroom. Then you can say, hey, why this thing happened? Like, how did this happen? What do you think about it? Or when you're having dinner or lunch, then you say water droplets appearing on your glass while having lunch or dinner. Just let them be exposed to these kind of things. Okay, and then, or this one, the latest one, quite common. Why do their glasses fog up after lighting from air-conditioned bus or when they put on a mask? Why? Because you will see it in exam. 2019, this is the Catholic High 2021 and 2021 PSLE exams. So these are actually to like trigger their ability to think more, right? So road trips to Malaysia, about this flagpoles. You won't see it in Singapore because everything is underground, okay? Or anywhere that's not Singapore, basically. So why? Because I have a student who asked me, what's this pole? Why is it here? Why are they doing this wire? Okay, so telephone line, and like Singapore got telephone line, so they don't realize it. So it's quite important for you to actually expose them because we only have like what 2 hours for the upper primary and 1.5 hours per week, right? So yeah, so this is PSLE 2024, like last year. So, or playground, especially the lower levels, you can actually, will you swing higher if you have a greater mass or pushed with a greater force? So you can just play with them and see whether they actually know this. Why? So PSLE 2020 came out with this, and some of them did ask me, what is this? Like, I've never seen this before because I've never been on a swing before. Yeah. So encourage hands-on exploration will be the next one. So swimming, let's say in the pool, the sea, or the Dead Sea, right? So in this case, you can actually just expose them to the different things, and then they're like, okay, so why? So eggs and salt water, you can actually do this experiment where you have eggs and then you dissolve salt into the glasses. So you use the word sink, afloat, or amount of salt in water. Okay. I know it's an ideal. We want you to do like maybe the kids can actually do some table or to do a graph, but in the not so ideal world, you have no time. But maybe what you can do is you share any graph and just ask them, how do you think this relates to whatever it is that you're doing? So talk to them about the axis. So for my students, right, they normally use this axis, say, because of the height of the egg, therefore there is more salt water content or amount of salt in the water. So it's like the reverse, and it is not correct. So we normally say because of the amount of water in salt, amount of salt in the water, therefore the height of the egg from the bottom of the cup will be at such and such level. Yeah. Okay, so we really, really like it when parents actually seek feedback from the teachers because feedback is the key to improvement and growth. If you don't know what is happening, you don't know how to actually help them. Okay, and then encourage your child to ask teachers for feedback on their answers or understanding of science topics. So how does this actually help? It develops a proactive learning attitude, builds confidence in clarifying doubts, or gains valuable insights to improve answering skills. Like, I think a few of my students, they will like ask the teacher, why did I get this question wrong in exams? Okay, because I always encourage them, please do ask questions to your teacher. If you realize that, A, you have all the 4 C's and why are you not awarded marks? Because sometimes teachers really just don't see it, you see. The order might be wrong, but if all points are there, usually the teacher will give. So some of them actually manage to get more marks for that. Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing about feedback is very interesting. Maybe Miss Wafen can answer this question. So, why do you think, or rather, do you think might be holding them back, holding the students back when seeking feedback from their teachers?
All right, Mr. Hugh. Okay, I think in a large group, right, students might be reluctant to ask questions or seek feedback due to the fear of appearing like weaker in studies as compared to their peers or being judged by their classmates.
Mm.
And also, I think in teachers in large classrooms, like they often have less time to address each student's specific questions or to provide detailed feedback, making it harder for students to approach them.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah. So at the Eden Academy, right, we believe that learning is driven by a powerful sense of curiosity, and every child has that sense of curiosity in them. Okay,
Mhm.
hence, as an educator, okay, our role is to help them capture and nurture that sense of curiosity to its fullest potential.
Okay, so I mean, you brought up Eden Academy, right? So can you just share with everyone here about how science is actually taught at the Eden Academy?
Okay, sure, Mr. Hugh. Okay, so at the Eden Academy, right, we believe that science comes alive when students, are engaged in hands-on activities. So in our lessons, students conduct experiments like setting up a food battery for the topic on electrical system, make a periscope to investigate the properties of light, and carry out activities, as you can see from the photo on the right, the students are using chopsticks, to pick up red and green sticks from a mesh of green paper strips, to learn how being able to camouflage increases the chance of survival of some organisms. Okay, so these experiences allow students to explore concepts firsthand, making learning both engaging and memorable. Okay, developing strong experimental skill is an essential part of science learning. Beyond having fun during experiments, our lessons focus on strengthening students' ability to answer experimental-based questions. So through our journals, students are guided to formulate hypotheses, identify different types of variables, and design their own experiments. They also learned how to analyze results and draw meaningful conclusions, equipping them with the skills needed to excel in answering experimental-based questions. Okay, so learning science isn't just about conducting experiments, it is also about making the process enjoyable. So through games, challenges, and quizzes, we help students reinforce their knowledge in a fun and interactive way. So for example, for the photo you see on the right, the class was challenged to complete an electrical maze without triggering the sound. So the students have a lot of fun while learning how the maze works by applying the concept of open and closed circuits. So activities like this spark healthy competition and make complex concepts easier to understand. So it's important to keep students motivated and excited to learn. Okay, during our Eureka Time activities, students are encouraged to think critically by investigating questions like whether the sail of a sailboat affects its speed. Okay, such questions engage them in forming hypotheses, making observation, and justifying their answers, fostering their ability to analyze and apply scientific concepts effectively. So group sharing sessions during our science lessons provide students with opportunity to discuss their ideas and articulate their thoughts. Okay, I remember for these P3 lessons, right, the students have to group some objects. So one of the girls in the group gave an incorrect suggestion to the heading of the groups. Okay, she suggested two groups for the objects, like round shape and once alive. Then the boy, immediately picked up the misconception and told the girl that she was not comparing similar characteristics as shapes, and whether the objects were once alive were not the same. Okay, so he suggested that she can group the objects into two groups, like once alive or never alive. Okay, or she can group them according to shapes. Then the girl realized her mistake and agreed with what the boy had said. So these sharing sessions during lessons not only enhance the students' collaborative skills, but also build confidence in expressing their understanding, ensuring that they apply the concepts more effectively. Okay, we also focus on connecting science concepts to real-life situations. So for instance, on a concept of evaporation, we introduce the use of hand sanitizer. Okay, students are prompted to observe its effect and think about the science behind it. Okay, this activity builds curiosity and deepens students' understandings of everyday phenomenon. Okay, in another lesson, right, students work together to come up with a method to obtain fresh water from seawater using simple materials. Okay, this hands-on activity encourages them to think practically and apply the knowledge learned from the water cycle in meaningful ways, okay, fostering problem-solving skills and contextual understanding. Okay, our science lessons are carefully designed by our in-house curriculum writers, and we aim to spark curiosity and engage students in meaningful learning. Okay, let me walk you through how a typical science lesson is carried out. So we begin our lesson with an engaging hook to activate prior knowledge. So for these P6 lessons, students are asked, okay, if the amount of force needed to move a wooden block on a flat surface is the same as that of a ramp. Okay, this set the stage for exploration, okay, and encourages critical thinking. Okay, next, the student move into the investigation phase. Okay, working collaboratively, they measure, observe, and collect data. Once the data is collected, students move on to analyze the results and draw conclusions. Okay, then they compare their findings with their initial predictions, okay, and use evidence to answer key questions. Okay, so this encourages deep thinking and scientific reasoning. Okay, to ensure content mastery, reinforce the concepts using our science journal and carefully design independent work. Okay, students also check their understanding by applying the learned concepts to guided discussion in class and home learning assignment. So throughout the lesson, right, our teacher provide feedback to students and create opportunity for reflection. Okay, usually one topic, right, may extend over several lessons. We incorporate formative assessment at different checkpoints to check for understanding and encourage active participation. So activities like game creation and real-life applications are also incorporated in our lessons, okay, to allow students to apply what they have learned creatively. For example, our P3 students had an exciting time designing and creating a magnetic tank cleaner to remove algae, which is represented by the green marks on the tank. So to make the activity even more engaging, okay, we had a friendly competition to see who could clean the tank the fastest. So while having fun, the students also deepen their understanding of the properties of magnets. So these learning experiences that we have planned in our lessons make learning interactive, meaningful, and fun. Okay, previously, Ms. Nisa highlighted the importance of feedback. So at the Eton Academy, our teachers provide detailed feedback for written work, ensuring students understand how to improve. So unlike school teachers, okay, who often have to manage 3 to 4 classes and probably mark 120 to 160 scripts daily, here we can dedicate more time to each student's work. This allows us to give more specific and constructive feedback, okay, helping students to refine their responses and deepen their understanding effectively. So the students, upon seeing the feedback on their work, should have a clearer idea of why their answers are not accepted. Okay, in fact, a lot of my students, right, will write down their revised answers, their corrections, first after seeing my feedback, even before I started to go through the answer.
Mm.
We also provide a termly learning snapshot to give students and parents a clearer overview of their progress in science. So the learning snapshot includes a breakdown of the content mastery for topics that were covered during our lessons, okay, allowing parents to see how well their child understand concepts in the different topics. Additionally, okay, we also give personalized comments, okay, and these comments provide specific feedback, acknowledging progress and addressing challenges faced by the students. So this tailored approach helps students focus on key areas for improvement while reinforcing their confidence in areas that they excel. So I will now hand over to the session to Mr. Hugh, who will provide more information on the administrative matters. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Wei Fen and Ms. Nisa, for that very informative sharing. I think all of us can agree that it's not so straightforward when it comes to answering science questions. I think even though, like we pointed out earlier, even though your child may have a very strong grasp of science concepts, it's how they apply it and whether they're applying it correctly. So all that requires a lot of attention, I would say. And yeah, definitely at the Eton Academy, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is the continual feedback that we offer parents in terms of how well your child is progressing, which is obviously something that you can't get in schools due to several factors, be it the large class sizes, whether the teacher's able to actually find time to speak to you, after school and things like that. So this is something that we are very proud of at Eden Academy. So let me just share with you class schedules in case you are keen to come and pay us a visit to see if your child is happy to give our classes a go, right? So we have our science classes at three of our locations: Canberra, Great World, and Sengkang Grand Mall. So you can just have a look at the different classes there and the times. I mean, you can take a snapshot if you want to. Otherwise, you can also find the information at our website rather easily. Okay, so yeah, just leave this for a while, just let you have a quick look. Yep. So again, we have our science classes at three of our locations. Okay, then maybe we can talk about the next thing, which is actually, yes, you're all invited for our experience day. Okay, so we're gonna have an experience day at our Great World Center on the 8th and 9th of March, so Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 4. And the promotion we're having is that if you join us that day, you can actually register for complimentary trial class. Okay, so this complimentary trial class is not just for science lessons. You can even choose to attend an English or a maths lesson at Great Wall City on the 8th and 9th of March for free. Okay, so that's something really good. A chance for you to experience our classes. Okay, and we will also have an area for you to come in and ask questions because our specialists will be there to answer your questions pertaining to curriculum and things like that as well. So yeah, please join us, on 8th and 9th of March at Great Wall City for this experience day. Please scan the quick response code for all the information, and you can register from there. Okay. So again, I'll just leave this slide on for just a bit, and then we can move on after a while. Okay, so right now, if there are any questions that you might have, what you can do is you can just type into the chat, the webinar chat. You can just type in your question, and then we will try to answer it right now. If we can't answer it right now, as in like maybe the answer requires quite a bit more explanation, we will definitely get back to you if you leave your contact. But please type in your questions into the chat right now so we can address some questions you may have. Okay, so I'm just gonna just give you a few minutes now just to pen down your questions if you have any. Okay, so let me see. Do we have any questions so far? Okay, I have some very uh quest I have questions here related to more administrative things. Okay, so I see a question here. What is the maximum class size for our lessons at Eton Academy? Yep. Okay, so maybe Miss Mayfern, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, so for primary level, okay, it's 12, maximum of 12, okay, in one
Yep.
class.
Yeah. So when we were just now when we were sharing about giving your child the opportunity to ask questions and also from the teacher giving feedback, the group of 12 is a good number. The classes are not too large, right? So your child will be given more attention as it were, right, from the teacher. Yep. Okay. Thank you for that question. Okay, let me see. I think I have another question. Let me just read this now. Um, okay. So this one is about um scheduling a consultation to understand your child's weaknesses better. Okay. Thank you for that question. Okay, so again, please join us for our experience day because our teachers will be on hand. Our science teachers will be on hand, so you will see, Miss Nisa and even possibly Miss Wei Fen. Okay, about that. Um, and they will definitely be able to give you a more in-depth analysis of your child's ability. Yeah. Okay, I have one more question here. Is there any P3 science class at Great World Outlet? Okay, so again, if we look back at the schedule, okay, thank you very much. Okay, so currently there isn't a P3 science at Great Wall, but we do have it at Sengkang. We do have the class at Sengkang. Okay. And let me see.
Actually, Mr. Hugh, we have
Yeah.
a Science Great Wall on
Oh, okay.
it's on Sunday. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, yes, there is one. Okay, so I guess there's
The
a
typo here. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, thank you for that question. Okay, because we didn't realize that it's not there. So there is a science. Maybe Miss Lisa, you want to share what day that is?
It's on a Sunday.
On a Sunday, and the time would be
Yeah, 9.
9 o'clock, 9 o'clock in
Yeah.
the morning. Okay, so yes, there is Sunday 9 o'clock. Okay, so yeah, just take note of that as well. Okay, yeah, thank you very much for that question. Okay, let's see. Let me just wait for any
I think
other
there's also
questions.
a question of how do you accommodate children who join midterm. Yeah, so
Yes.
actually, yeah, we do often have students who join us midterm or even the
Mm,
start of term 4.
yep.
Yeah, so the teachers will help to ensure that children who join midterm receive the necessary support to catch up smoothly. So this includes like formative assessments to identify their current understanding. Okay, and then we also have targeted revision of key concepts that were covered earlier, and additional guidance during the lessons will be given to the students. So don't worry that they are not able to catch up. Okay, even if they join midterm, yeah,
Mm,
or even in term 4.
mm, yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that, Miss Wei Fen. Okay. Yes. Okay. Let me just see if there's anything else we need to address. Oh, okay, this is an interesting question. Uh, okay, someone is asking about the trial class. Okay, is it the same as the regular class that we conduct? So in other words, is it a special class that we design? Okay, so rest assured, it's not a special class. It is basically when you come in and experience a trial class, it's the actual experience your child will get, week in and week out. Yeah, so that's something you don't have to think about. That is definitely the experience your child will get, no matter which week it is. Yeah. So I think you saw just now Miss Wiffen was sharing about the flow of the lesson. So it'll be, if it's a science lesson, the flow will be like that. Of course, if it's maths or English, then again it will be a different flow, but essentially it's the same experience you would receive. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that question. Okay, I think those are all the questions. Okay, so once more, thank you very much for attending this evening, and we really hope to see you on our experience days, or even just at the centers if you're, keen to come and find out more. Okay, so thank you very much, and just gonna wish everyone a very good evening, and yes.